There's a region in Saudi Arabia called Neom, which has the most ambitious construction in the history of the world. It's straight out of science fiction, terraforming the desert, cities run by robots, hotels which look like the lair of a Bond villain, and a marina entrance that's more wondrous than the Colossus of Rhodes. One building is so big that it's almost impossible to imagine, so we're going to show it to you in a way that lets you see how gigantalicious it's going to be. Hey, I'm Steve, and this is Gigaprojects. We're not fanboys or haters. We're here to tell you what's really going on. Now, lots of people are talking about how the whole idea is insane and impossible, but they're either misunderstanding the real intentions or they're misleading you for internet clout. But unlike them, we've been there. We've talked to people on the ground, and we have a real scoop, the actual plans that tell us what the real deal is. Plus, we have the bid book for the FIFA World Cup in 2034, which for the first time gives real details and timelines that they have to hit, because if they don't, they'll have 100,000 angry soccer hooligans to deal with. Plus, we'll tell you why if you're headed to the World Cup in 2034, you might want to start saving up for a yacht. So we think this whole thing is gonna happen, and we'll tell you why, and along the way we'll make a bunch of bad jokes about cool things. Let's start with a quick tour of the sites which are currently under construction that will make up Neom. First of all, we land at Neom International Airport. From there, we'll hop on the world's fastest metro, the Spine, and in 25 minutes we'll arrive at the capital, Neom City. Next, we take the second metro, called the Connector, to head south to Oxagon, Neom's floating port city and industrial hub, where they're building the world's largest green hydrogen plant. Imagine Venice meets cyberpunk, a floating city run by robots. The whole region will be going green. They're pouring billions of dollars into building 20 gigawatts of renewable energy with wind and solar farms and pumped hydro storage, enough to power 20 million homes. Let's take a boat to Sindala and Shusha, two island resorts that make paradise look like it's in beta. These coral reefs probably have their own Insta accounts. Moving up the coast, we'll visit Magna, 12 futuristic seaside resorts that look like they're from a postcard from the year 3000. Though it's the newest destination, the resorts you see have already been snapped up by investors. The money people can tell that these resorts are going to be popular destinations in the lifestyles of the rich and famous. Magna's resorts might look like luxury getaways, but I wouldn't be shocked if the investors had a secret volcano base that just waited to surface. While investors are flocking to Magna, I'm starting to think the real business plan isn't hospitality, it's becoming the next Bond villain lair with a beachfront view. And sure, these resorts are totally for relaxation. Just ignore the underground bunker, the submarines, and the rocket ships that'll fly you up to space. In the middle of Magna is Zardoon, an eco-luxury resort currently under construction as part of the Neom Nature Reserve. Visitors to the reserve can immerse themselves in nature with horseback riding, wildlife watching, mountain biking, and rock climbing. And for those looking for a bit more R in their R&R, there's stargazing, meditation, or yoga. According to this master plan, the nature reserve around Neom City will be the heart of their rewilding efforts. They're aiming to plant 100 million native plants and reintroducing Nubian ibex, Arabian oryx, sand gazelles, and North African ostriches. Plus some big cats for that safari vibe. It's like Dune meets the Lion King. Hakuna Matata, Lisan al-Gaib. And while you're enjoying nature, Neom's advanced water treatment tech recycles water, turning sewage into irrigation. So in Neom, every time you take a shower or hit the flush, you're basically feeding Timon and Pumbaa. So Hakuna your Matatas to continue the circle of life. Our final stop is Trojena, a luxury ski resort with a giant lake in the desert. To reach Trojena from the Connector, you'll hop on a funicular from the Mirage, shoot through the time travel tunnel, and land at the Vault, which is either a futuristic ski resort or the world's fanciest nightclub, or maybe the base for a new Bond villain. It's kind of like this one time I was at a rave and I took the wrong pill. I thought I found the VIP section only to figure out that I'd climbed up onto the stage. The jewel in the crown is the Line in Neom City. Sure, we've talked about floating harbors and robot-run factories, but they're small potatoes in comparison. The Line is a gigantic, ambitious leap into Tomorrowland, a 170-kilometer-long zero-carbon linear city. A utopian vision that's borderline delusional. And delusional is exactly what some people are calling it. And if taken at face value, they're completely right. The scale and speed of Neom's ambitions seem madness. But is it madness, or is there a method to the madness? Here's where the haters get it wrong. They're trying to tell you that the kingdom's blue sky plans are going to be finished in just a few years. They're calling it ridiculous, because it is ridiculous, but it was never the Saudis' real plan. Listen, all Saudi gigaprojects have 3 phases. Phase 1 has hard deadlines, and Phase 3 is big, ambitious thinking that may not ever happen, like the line stretching for hundreds of kilometers. They might not get to Phase 3 for 100 years, or ever. Phase 3 is over the rainbow, magic wand, pie in the sky, smoke a little and dream big thinking. Like, take a look at how they even talk about it themselves.
The line will be 170 kilometers long. There will be 140 modules, each one 200 meters wide and 800 meters long, but also standing 500 meters above sea level. Each module will be able to accommodate 80,000 people, and the finished line will have a capacity to house a population of 9 million.
Let's look at that again, and this time actually think about what they're saying. They say it'll be 170 kilometers long, but 140 modules at 800 meters is 108 kilometers. That's just how math works. Also, they don't say the line will be 500 meters tall. They say the top will be 500 meters above sea level. Take a look at this giant jump in elevation. If the top of the line stays level while the ground rises by 108 kilometers from the shore, it would only be 35 meters tall. That's where the tunnel to the high desert and the airport would start, but the line won't continue. So let's step out of Fantasyland and come back to reality. The original plan for Phase 1 by 2030 was build an airport, the islands, and 5 modules in Neom City. Saudi Arabia would fund 3 of these modules while outside investors would cover the rest. For the FIFA World Cup bid, which I'll talk about in a second, the kingdom committed to building 3 modules at 2.4K by 2033, which means they still haven't found any outside investors yet. But they're committing and laying foundation piles for 4 modules, or 3.2K, confident that some sort of Ministry of Magic will step in and fund the 4th module with a wave of a wand. You might have seen a whole bunch of videos talking about how Neom is doomed to fail, but they're not talking about the real plans. Saudis already put billions of dollars into this. Plus, they're betting something that may be more important to them than money. By committing to the 2034 World Cup, they're putting their whole reputation on the line. They have to get Phase 1 finished by 2033, or they're going to look like fools when the FIFA fans come a-knockin'. And we all know how mature and understanding football hooligans can be. To make their World Cup bid, for the first time Saudi has had to provide specifics and dates. And this is what the FIFA bid book tells us about Neom and the line. The bid book makes a firm promise on a still unannounced airport to the east in the high desert. They're forecasting that the airport will service 12 million travelers per year by 2034, so it's not a dinky little regional. From the airport, they say their train line, called the Spine, will get you to Neom City in 25 minutes. If we assume that a high-speed train takes 5 minutes to accelerate and decelerate, that means the top speed will be 350 kilometers per hour. Chinese high-speed trains are currently doing that, so we think that's a realistic number. That section of Neom City is also called the Hidden Marina. It's going to have a man-made canal from the Red Sea that allows yachts and cruise ships to literally go through the line under a structure that they're calling the Chandelier. It'll be cooler than the Colossus at Rhodes, one of the 7 great wonders of the ancient world. Every cruise ship and super yacht in the Eastern Mediterranean will want to give their passengers the majestic experience of traveling under the chandelier. It's easy to go through the Suez Canal, and everyone who's anyone will want to check it out. They're going to have a World Cup football stadium 350 meters up the building. Imagine being as far off the ground as the tip of the Eiffel Tower, with 46,000 of your closest friends and a couple of world-class football teams. Below the stadium, you've got 4 more practice fields, hotels, media areas, and a hospital. The bid website features an infographic of Neom City, which highlights sections of the line without explaining most of them. But we also have access to older info, which we'll call the original plans. According to the bid book, the stadium will be the heart of a sports-focused neighborhood, next to the Health and Wellbeing District and Neom University. If we look at the original plans, we can see the university is to the left, and the wellness and health resorts are to the right of the stadium. This suggests that the new plan follows the original blueprint. What kind of courses will they be teaching at Neom University? Blade Running 101? The cultural imperatives of the Jawa-Tuscan Raider conflicts? Competitive sandworm racing? I don't know, but they're going to have a university. Take a look at these globe-shaped areas. Could that be the Health and Well-being District? To me, it looks more like the Galactic Senate than a wellness hub. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. On the right side, this cluster of buildings appears to be the government area, and those long vertical structures, they're probably express elevators leading down to the Spine metro station. The bid book confirms 2 World Cup public viewing areas, the Marina and the Marina Steps. It places the Marina Steps near the convention center, while the Marina viewing area is within the line itself. But here's the awesome thing. What if this is all a big misdirection? What if the Marina Steps aren't in the line itself, but across the water? This would open up an amazing idea. Because the line is a mirror facade, it could be turned into a gigantic TV. As tall as 5 football fields and nearly a kilometer wide, it would be the biggest screen in the history of sports. Or really in the history of screens. Let's just take a minute and think about how unbelievably humongous this building would be. I mean, even the sharp minds at the Australian ABC are struggling with the scale of the line. At 2.4K, they say that the line had become more like a dot. I guess anything bigger than a rugby field is tough for them to imagine. They're still measuring in kangaroo units? No worries, we'll bring the line over to Sydney for a little perspective check. Mate, call it a dot if it helps you sleep better, but good luck ignoring it now. In the meantime, I'll throw another billion shrimp on the Barbie. Or, for the people running FIFA in Zürich, Switzerland, have a look-see at your beautiful city. Public viewing every day, and mountain views are overrated. It would have public viewing every day, and really, mountain views? Those are overrated. But imagine what that giant TV idea would look like for the people of LA. The Hollywood Hills are about 500 meters tall, so this gives us a good scale for the height. Bye-bye, Hollywood sign. And you already thought you couldn't escape the Marvel movies. Michael Bay just came and he doesn't even know why. It's really hard to imagine how enormous this building would be. Even the brightest architects in the world struggle with it. To do this proper justice, we'd need another whole video about it. Even for the lines architects, it's been a tough thing to imagine.
Humans in general, they tend to go horizontal and avoid vertical by all means possible. Lifts and stairs and things like that are abrupt interruption in their movement. They hate it.
What if we just say that the ground is now multiple grounds, rather than always that singular ground that we always go down to?
But in the line, verticality is the whole point. To tackle this, the architects are using a stacked level system, creating a new ground floor every 100 meters. We do have some experience in building tall buildings, but not a whole lot of experience in building tall and long. We don't have a lot of references for it. So how will people get around in this building? Looking at publicly available renders, we see these stacked floors connected by bridges, express elevators, and funiculars, which are essentially diagonal elevators that move people up and down the sides of the buildings. It's an improvement over traditional elevators, but both are still slower than moving horizontally. Plus, you'll probably have to wait in line each time you change your mode of travel, so navigating vertically through the line might feel frustratingly slow. And this is because our concepts of vertical cities come mostly from computer games or dystopian sci-fi, which in turn were inspired by the Kowloon walled city in Hong Kong. It was this insane megastructure that was part building, part living organism. One massive continuous structure where you could get anything you needed for daily life that grows and changes over time. It's just like some bizarre hybrid between architecture and biology, a city that evolved organically based on the needs and actions of its inhabitants. Everything was within walking distance because the walled city was tiny at just 213 by 126 meters. But for the line, which is 20 times longer, you'll need something more than your feet to move around horizontally. Thanks to the bid book, we finally know how horizontal movement in Neom is going to work. A combination of autonomous rail rapid transit, or ARTs, and personal rapid transit, or PRTs. ARTs are like this. Like AI-guided trams on tires, traveling in a rail-like manner without needing traditional tracks. These will be good for moving larger groups across distances within a module. PRTs are like small, AR-controlled driverless taxis, better for private travel or for going where the ART trams won't go. In this cross-section of a module, we see Neom's layered transport system. The blue transit corridor probably hosts the ARTs, while the green line and the white circles point to intermediate transport corridors, probably for the PRTs. Express elevators every 100 meters connect those layers, but it also means that there will be 20 ART stops on the upper levels, slowing horizontal travel to a crawl, while on the 2 lower levels, the gaping hole that holds the chandelier would prevent you from traveling end to end. TLDR, what Neom proposes is a glorified mess. Your best bet for getting around isn't some fancy AI tech, it's whatever can fit into an elevator and move faster than your feet. But then, of course, there's always the dream of flying cars. I've been waiting for flying cars since I was a kid watching the Jetsons, and Neom might finally deliver. Saudi Arabia invested 175 million euros in Volocopter, who've agreed to provide at least 15 flying vehicles. But even if I do visit, I might not be enough of a VIP to rate a flying car. The drone port symbol in this cross-section plan hints that these flying cars might only shuttle the elite. The bid book makes it clear that there will be no car parking. Seriously, they already flattened the entire town of Gail to ensure that their terraformed Serengeti views aren't polluted by unsightly buildings of the locals. They definitely won't spoil the view with parking lots within sight of the line. Like, these are the parking lots from Disney World in Florida. The only parking they'll have is for yachts. So if you're moving in, will you have to use a U-Haul yacht to move in your bed and bookcases and stuff? Or would you have to ask your buddy Jeff to borrow his boat for the weekend? So where would residents park? Maybe at a park and ride 100 kilometers away in Oxagon or at the airport? Living in Saudi Arabia isn't like New York or Hong Kong, where you don't need a car. Here you're in the middle of nowhere. Right now there isn't even an intercity bus. So as excited as we would be to visit the line, and that is pretty excited, it seems like a place designed to amaze tourists, not a place to live and work. This whole video feels like a bunch of stuff I'd be super eager to visit and see, and then I'd want to go home. Living here full-time seems like it would be like living in Snowpiercer, just a whole lot taller. It's an amazing place to visit, as long as you have an exit date. Now, we have a whole other scoop to tell you about, but I've run out of time. If you want to hear about how we found the construction contracts that tell us exactly where the kingdom is spending their money, punch that subscribe button and we'll give you monthly construction updates. Take it easy, I'm Steve. Take it easy, I'm Steve, and this is Gigaprojects.